who the actual perpetrator is.
Yeah, that plays a big part in it. The difficult part of doing family DNA on what they have from the physical evidence. With the intermediary checking for the quality of the evidence, they won't really know anything at all. It doesn't seem likely that it would be a direct family member that would have done something like this, so I'm reasonably certain that just accounting for their alibi and that they weren't anywhere near when this took place is enough for the time being. But the stranger intrusion is probably what they're looking for more on this evidence than any family member.
So, Detective, can you give us a better timeline on the DNA? And I want to take two different, so you got the private lab, all right, get the results from there. Then you got CODIS with the Bureau in Quantico. It looks like they've been able to get the speed of that quite fast these days. But then you got the genealogy, and it seems like that takes some time. What can you tell us about timeline on all those DNAs?
Well, the one good thing about a case like this that has such intense media coverage is the DNA processing is going to be sped up. They're going to put a case like Nancy's at the front of the line because generally, especially in California, back when we were working these cases, if you submitted DNA evidence, you were on about a 4 or 6 month wait until you got the results. The problem was the lab had to work on cases that were coming up for trial first, and then they would work on the unsolveds. But in this case, because of the high-profile nature, they're going to be able to put it at the front of the line. Now, the lab down in Florida, I would assume that it's got to be accredited. I can't imagine that the sheriff would send evidence to a lab that isn't accredited, hasn't been tested before in court, and that the results would not be accepted. So the timeline between doing this, and it's not like plugging in a wall socket or anything like that. It takes those criminalists in the lab time to find the results and quantify them, get them written down, and then have them ready to go to the next step, whoever's going to look at it, whether it's Quantico or an intermediary that's going to determine the quality is still there for further examination.
Yeah, John, it sounds like it's raining there. We're looking it up on our phones, 54 degrees, and it's raining there. Thought those were fireworks at first, but that's what, probably you're under a tent. When we talk about Laci Peterson's case, she disappeared December 24th, right before Christmas, in 2002. But Scott wasn't arrested, her husband at the time, until the next April. So it took time, and that's when the baby's body washed up. A week later, her body washed up, I believe, and then there was DNA evidence that confirmed it was Laci and her baby. But did that add, I guess that adds the urgency to the case, right? Because then you immediately were able to arrest Scott.
Yeah, there were two different exigencies in that case. The first one at the beginning was because nobody knew where Laci was. So, of course, there was an enormous amount of search effort going on in a variety of different locations. And there was investigation behind the scenes. We were checking alibis and things like that. And that was the one thing with Scott that came about is his demeanor was different from all the other family members, whether it was Laci's mom, Sharon, her friend Ron Gransky, Laci's friend Stacy, Kim, Renee, Lori, her sister Amy, her brother Brent. Everybody was just going crazy except for Scott. So there was urgency there, but he set himself apart because of his behavior. When the bodies showed up, we were at the point where we had completed just about everything else in that investigation, and we were waiting for something to break, and it just so happened it took place at that time. We were not able to identify the remains because you just couldn't identify them visually. So they had to submit the evidence. Now, most of the time in a case like this, we would have been waiting, but because of the media attention in the Peterson case, those results came back right away from Bill Lockyer's office at California Department of Justice. That was helpful for us, but the urgency then was we had to wait on the results. We knew they would be coming within hours. We had to find Scott. He was under surveillance, and then we had to apprehend him with the assistance of California Department of Justice. So it worked out good. In this case, it's a little bit different. We still don't know where Nancy is, and so the urgency still remains just like it did in the early stages of Peterson.
It's actually such a good point, Scott, in comparison-wise, because we also saw that in the Brian Kohlberger case. They sent the DNA over to the lab, and they were monitoring him for over 2 weeks. That could be happening right now. They could have suspects as they have under surveillance while they're doing the other heavy lifting with the law enforcement work. Excellent insight. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks, guys. Thanks, appreciate it.
So today in Geneva, the Trump administration is resuming key nuclear talks with Iran as President Trump works to secure peace in the Middle East. Now, this comes as peace talks are also being held between Ukraine and Russia, with just 1 week until the two countries mark their 4th year at war.
White House correspondent Aisha Hasni joins us with the details. Good morning, Aisha.
Hey, good morning to you. It appears that those Iran-U.S. talks just wrapped up inside the Oman embassy in Geneva. We don't have a readout just yet, but I will say that the Ayatollah of Iran just started tweeting moments ago some tough talk for Americans, including saying peaceful nuclear industry is not for war, it's for running a country. What does that have to do with you Americans? That's from the Ayatollah this morning. The president's envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, are leading these talks today as a second aircraft carrier was deployed to the Middle East. The president, though, has been hopeful that Iran will come to an agreement.
Typically, Iranians are very tough negotiators. I would say they're bad negotiators because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential. We had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable.
It's told that a deal is next to impossible.
No, I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal.
Okay, so in Geneva now, Witkoff and Kushner have begun talks on Russia, Ukraine, the focus of which is land, a major sticking point for Ukraine. And it comes as Russia is accused of carrying out major airstrikes overnight, knocking out power to southern Ukraine. Here's NATO Ambassador Matt Whitaker on these talks.
Expect productive talks in Geneva, but obviously, as the Secretary of State has pointed out, it's going to take both sides to come up with a way that they can agree to end this war. It's down to, as Steve Witkoff said a couple weeks ago, really one issue, and that is territories, but that's going to be the trickiest, toughest issue. And so we're going to continue to work it. And you know what? President Trump gets all the credit because he's the only person that could bring both sides to the table.
As for those Iran talks, the president has said that he would be involved indirectly from here in Washington. We hope to find out how those went here soon. Back to you.
Aisha, thank you so much.
Got it.
More Fox and Friends coming up.
Following Jesus was never meant to be done alone. Iron sharpens iron, you know.
What's up, Mark? Is this your way of asking me to join you on Hallow again this year?
It is.
Awesome. Got to stay prayed up.
Isn't that my line?
I thought maybe this year I could do it. No?
Oh, hey guys. Sorry, I must have forgotten to silence my phone. I was just praying.
Classic Jesus.
That's why we're calling.
Hallow? This Lent? Absolutely.
Sweet.
Pray every day this Lent on Hallow.
Stay prayed up.
ACE's YardRx program prescribes the best lawn care, specific to your yard's needs, delivered every season. Because when you want greener grass, less weeds, and fewer bugs, you can get a personalized prescription delivered free from the helpful folks at ACE. Subscribe now and save 20% on everything you need all year. From our store to your front door, with service so good it's guaranteed.
ACE is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Jillian Michaels here with a truth bomb. One key reason that we look older is because our bodies make less collagen as we age. It's time to start taking Alaya Multi-Collagen, a powerhouse formulation of 5 different types of collagen that helps restore your body's youthfulness. Alaya can support fuller, more luxurious hair, dramatically diminished wrinkles, and stronger, healthier nails. Alaya Collagen even supports joint health so you can stay active and comfortable. Add Alaya to your smoothie, coffee, any of your favorite recipes because it's flavorless and it goes with everything. I've made Alaya Multi-Collagen a part of my daily routine religiously because it helps me look and feel my very best. Go to getalaya.com now and use the promo code to receive 30% off plus free shipping. The sooner you order, the sooner you can get relief and support your overall wellness. Go to getalaya.com now. Prioritize your body inside and out with Alaya.
Sleep Number's best deals are on now. Take 50% off our limited edition mattress, plus free delivery with any bed and base. Ends Monday. For effortless comfort that adapts to you. Shop now, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Dry eye still gritty, scratchy, and tired? With MyBo, eyes can feel. MyBo, oh yeah. MyBo is the only prescription dry eye drop that targets too much tear evaporation by forming a protective layer. MyBo, oh yeah. Don't use if allergic to MyBo. Remove contacts before using. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. MyBo, oh yeah. Ask your eye doctor about MyBo.
I wanted to have control over drinking instead of alcohol having control over me. I started with Or Health about a year ago. It put the brakes on that I had been looking for. I can drink less and say no, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Text Fox News to 710-710 to learn more.
J.D. Vance on the story. From talks with Iran to issues facing Americans at home, the vice president breaks down the administration's efforts. Martha has the must-see interview today.
We asked women one simple question. What makes...
As a physician, my number one priority is always to give patients the best possible care. A prescription drug affordability board might sound like a good idea, but this misguided policy allows political appointees to make treatment decisions, not doctors and patients. The board won't lower patients' costs. Instead, it will restrict access to vital medicines. Let patients and doctors decide. Don't make us compromise on critical treatment decisions.
Oh, that's what a gentleman smells like, okay? Yep, that's it. What are you doing tonight? If he smells this good, he's got my attention.
Gravite. Visit trygravite.com. Use the promo code on your screen to get 25% off.
Can I keep this guy?
Trygravite.com.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your policy, even a term policy, for an immediate cash payment.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our income.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies, or call 1-800-515-4100. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
So, a new op-ed from far-left magazine The Atlantic examining the shifting approach to youth gender surgeries in America. It points out, quote, shaky evidence base for youth gender medicine has become better known in front of the Supreme Court. The ACLU's Chase Stragio conceded there was no evidence to support the assertion that transition prevents suicide. His concession helped expose the rhetoric as the emotional blackmail it always was. The tide is now going out on the affirmative approach to youth gender medicine as practiced in America. Let's bring in Dr. Sheila Nazarene, member of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, along with Riley Gaines, host of the Riley Gaines Show podcast. It's good to see y'all both. Doctor, I'll start with you because the science really hasn't changed on this matter, but the emotions that were used to weaponize people into supporting this seems to have changed, right?
That's right, Lawrence. And unfortunately, that's not how science should be treated at all. It shouldn't matter who the president is. It shouldn't matter what emotions are. Everything should be based on evidence-based medicine. And once the 12 and 14-year data came out of Europe showing that there was no evidence that the benefits outweigh the harm, European countries, no matter how liberal politically they were, stopped performing these procedures and giving these medications. And finally, the tide has come over here to the U.S., unfortunately, later rather than sooner, showing that, these kids have really not had a decrease in suicidality. They have not had any long-term benefit. And it's about time we stop doing these procedures. These are kids, and they deserve evidence-based medicine just like everyone else does.
Riley, from the very beginning, first of all, you didn't even want to be involved in politics. You were going to school to be a dentist. But you've always handled this debate with compassion. Even when they attack you, you've always said, hey, I feel for the children, but this isn't the solution.
Yeah, Lawrence, well, I think the most compassionate and loving thing you can do is to tell the truth. And that's not what these doctors or healthcare providers are doing to these kids in affirming their belief that they were born in the wrong body. And I want to focus on that. The message that these young kids oftentimes, or adults for that matter, but for the sake of this conversation, focusing on children, the message that they're being told and that they're correct to feel as if they're born wrong. What a horrible message. There's nothing affirming about that. I think we should be calling this type of practice gender denying harm, not gender affirming care. There's nothing affirming about telling young kids especially that they're born wrong. And to the doctor's point, it's really no surprise that there's such a high suicide rate amongst this population. And I say that with a very tragic and heavy heart. It's a really horrible thing. But again, they're being told they're correct to feel as if they're born wrong. We should be telling these children or adults that they're correct to, or that they were born perfectly and intentionally and uniquely in God's image. And how amazing is it that we have a creator who doesn't make mistakes?
It's such a great point. And doctor, especially when you hear the stories of those that transitioned and the whistleblowers out there, you would think they would change. Here are some of those whistleblowers and detransitioners.
This is no longer a medical standard. Right now, this is a belief system that has been spread through the medical system.
The current medical recommendation is that these children, whenever they see any doctor, whether they're a physician or just a psychologist, they are going to be, and they're inevitably going to be pushed down the route of permanent mutilation.
I realized it was a mistake about 6 months after I had my mastectomy. I started to reflect more on the complications and why my doctors ghosted me when they arose. It was something that confused me.
And doctor, this is just a few. There are many of them that don't go on TV, but silently deal with the pain and the trauma after these heartbreaking surgeries.
It's absolutely tragic, and it's not just tragic for these kids, it's also tragic for their parents. Imagine being a mother. I'm a mother of 3 teenagers. Imagine being a mother and being told either accept your transgender child or you'll have a dead child. You know, we spoke about emotional blackmail last week on this show, Lawrence, and it is a horrific place to place a parent that you just agreed to take off the healthy body parts of your child because doctors, people you trusted, told you that you would have a dead child if you did not. And I just want to come